Hey guys, this video was recorded on a live stream, and I'm actually reacting. I actually reacted to Game Theory's Mimic video, or not Mimic specifically, Security Breach Ruin, his predictions for Ruin. And in this video, I'd already finished Ruin. I had already finished playing Ruin, so I reacted to this afterwards. So I knew what he got right. I knew what he got wrong. Kind of. You can watch my live stream of playing Ruin right now, because it's like I'm actually doing. I'm still streaming right now while I'm recording this. But you can watch it. You can go back, watch my playthrough of Ruin. But I'll also be posting the stream as videos afterwards. So yeah, this is just my reaction to the new Game Theory. So enjoy. Just beware of Ruin spoilers if you haven't played Ruin yet or watched anybody play Ruin yet. If you don't want spoilers, don't watch the video. Just wanted to do that disclaimer. So yeah, enjoy the video.
The day's finally here. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin has arrived after a year and a half in the making, which means that I've only got today. One final chance to solve Security Breach once and for all before Ruin clarifies everything for us. Or,
It didn't.
Adds even more layers of confusion.
That's exactly what happened.
Can I give you the theory that'll finally pull together everything and unite the very fragmented fan base in time for the newest game release? Let's
probably
find
not.
out.
Considering what I've heard.
Hello, Internet.
It's okay though.
Welcome to Game Theory.
If it makes you feel better, Matt, if these predictions end up completely wrong, that's okay, because mine were too.
You heard that intro right. The Ruin DLC is finally out. In fact, it just dropped today as I upload this video, which is kind of crazy to think about, because it means that we've spent the better part of 2 years trying to solve one game and one game only: Security Breach.
Yeah.
All that time hasn't just been us spinning our wheels over and over again in Roxy Raceway. We've had ourselves some help. Kinda. Since the release of Security Breach, it's felt like the new Tales of the Pizzaplex books have been trying to offer us clues as to what the story of Security Breach was trying to be. But those clues have been, challenging for the community to interpret, to say the least. Mimics and Tiger Rocks and Dr. Rabbits, the storyteller Edwin GGY. The list has been huge, and even if you follow every detail of every book,
it does add questions, but it does solve a lot. It did really help us, like with the GGY connection. It confirmed Patient 46, Gregory, and the Mimic. It seems to be Glitch Trap, but then now with Ruin, what the hell happened to it? You know what I mean?
Pretty darn confusing. But finally, with the release of this latest book, Tiger Rock, everything has come into focus for me. I think I finally get it. I think I finally understand the story that modern FNAF as a whole has been trying to tell us this entire time, which, you know, is kind of a good thing, because it'll put us all on the same page as we try to theorize moving forward. This theory, I suspect, is the final key to the puzzle. The thing that's gonna help us all understand what the heck we're seeing throughout the new DLC and from this point forward in the franchise. And I suspect it all comes down to one topic: AI. No, obviously AI has been the buzzword of 2023, talking about how powerful
it has, yes.
Fears about it taking our jobs, concerns about the ethics of it. If you read an article online, there's a chance that it's been written by ChatGPT. See some cool artwork that just won a competition, turns out Dolly made it. Watch a cool YouTube video.
Geez, MatPat, you're using a lot of power. You wouldn't last 1 minute playing 2020 mode, which I totally beat on my first try, by the way.
There's a chance that those voices were produced by AI. But talk about
those AI presidents are really funny though.
AI. Basically, artificial intelligence is a machine's ability to think like a human. You feed the machine a bunch of data, and the computer brain is able to learn from it. It ingests all that information and then makes decisions based on that data moving forward. It actually closely parallels the way that we learn. We also ingest data from our environment and then use that data to make our decisions. And just like with a human, the more data that you're feeding into these things, the more sophisticated and well-rounded the responses become, and the more lifelike it seems.
Exactly.
But within reason. You see, there's a problem with all of this. You have to be careful about the data that you're feeding it. If you aren't properly filtering the information that's being ingested,
and that's like the kind of plot about the Mimic,
and unbiased, then bad things are going to start to happen. If I put in a bunch of misinformation, the responses I get back are just going to be wrong. And that makes sense, right?
Yeah, okay, this isn't related to FNAF or anything, but it's really funny because one time my friend was on the Snapchat AI, and he was talking to it, and then he asked what time it was, or what day it was, or something like that. And then, I think it was what day it was. And then the AI was like, this is the day. And then my friend was literally like, no, you're wrong. And then he was like, sorry, what day is it? And then he was like, it is, insert wrong day. And the AI was like, yes, you're right. Okay. And then he asked again. He's like, what day is it? And then they say the answer that he gave. It's like you feed it misinformation, and then it does give misinformation back. And this does connect with the Mimic, which is like, if you feed it bad information, then it replicates that, and like with Edwin's like aggressiveness, the mimic replicates that aggressiveness.
The computer doesn't know any better. It only knows what we tell it. But things can actually get a lot worse than that. What if I put in a bunch of hateful opinions or biases? Well, that's exactly what you're going to get back. You're going to get a dark reflection of that data. And we saw that exact situation play out live in real time over on Twitch last year. Back in December of 2022, one of the big trends was an AI-generated show called Nothing Forever.
Never heard of it, not gonna lie.
Comedy series Seinfeld, with its dialogue and assets all being generated by AI in real time. ChatGPT for the scripts, DALL-E, Stable Diffusion, a few others. And I gotta say, it was impressive. Not only was this thing a pretty darn accurate replica of the classic series, but it was also just cool to see how all these systems could work together to make something entirely brand new. But then one day, GPT-3 experienced outages, prompting the creators to switch over to a different AI chat system, one that was less filtered, one that was less sophisticated with its ingested data. All of a sudden, the jokes the AI was making in the show became harmful and abusive. Characters started using slurs and making hateful jokes, and the show got suspended from Twitch. Bad data equals bad results. But then, how does this all apply to FNAF? Well, each new Tales of the Pizzaplex book has leaned more and more into AI. In the Mimic, we watch as Edwin, a close parallel to Henry from the games, makes an AI
debatable.
his son
I don't really think so.
In the Storyteller, we watch as that same AI system gets installed and starts controlling the entirety of the Pizzaplex. In the Epilogues, we watch as an AI program takes its ingested data too seriously, ripping the arms and legs off of people, wrongly assuming them to be robots. Bad data again yielding bad results. And the newest story, The Monty Within, makes all of this crystal clear when a boy named Kane gives a presentation about the human brain. He proposes that the left hemisphere of the brain is essentially like a computer, an AI within every person. That AI is then responsible for all the negative self-talk and flaws that human beings have. Quote from the story, "My point is that AI can only use what it's given. When the AI has bad data, it can turn into something that's harmful to itself and to the systems around it." The actual theory that this guy's spouting is a little bit out there in terms of realism, but the fact that he specifically calls it the AI within is no coincidence. The new villain of FNAF is rogue AI, unpoliced and then unleashed, with us humans helplessly trying to pick up the pieces too late and getting ripped to shreds in the process. But obviously all that's just happening in the books. Nothing like this actually exists in the games, otherwise we'd be aware of it, right?
We are aware of it.
It's been there, and it's been under our noses the entire time. If you take this knowledge of AI,
does he still think that it's a parallel?
Back through the games, you can see
Scott I don't.
sowing the seeds for these ideas as far back as Help wanted. In fact, I actually called this very plot twist 4 years ago.
Yeah, you did.
Again, to call this character William would be missing a huge chunk of...
Ozone released a video recently, I think it was a YouTube short, of that clip, and then being like, Matt Pat predicted a mimic a long time ago. Which he did, yeah.
This isn't William. It's no longer the same guy. He's now an AI replicating the behaviors of William.
To truly unpack what I'm talking about here, we have to actually rewind all the way back to FNAF VR and the origins of Glitch Trap. It's hard to remember this now, but when the happy waving bunny virus first filled our screens, there was a lot of confusion about what exactly he was. Was this the spirit of Afton manifesting within the code, or was he just a digital copy of Afton? We're told in the game that...
I mean, they sent us that stuff in the first place with no explanation, told us to scan it. It was just junk. Circuit boards and things like that. Looked pretty old. Somehow, though, there was usable code on some of it.
He's Afton, scanned into the system off of circuit boards, but how exactly? Afton is and was always still a human. Why would his essence be on a circuit board? Back then, possession was the order of the day. Remnant, spirits infused into animatronic parts, and so for a long time, we just collectively settled...
I mean, if it weren't for the Mimic, that would still make sense, but because of the Mimic, then that's definitely not the case.
On the idea that Afton had somehow managed to escape his purgatory of Ultimate Custom Night by attaching a piece of his soul to a circuit board that was buried in the spring-lock suit that he was wearing. That circuit board then got scanned during the events of FNAF VR and AR, creating Glitch Trap, a virus that would then spread throughout Fazbear's systems, eventually passing into Vanessa. The series moved on, and we all moved on with it. But I would be lying if I said that this was the cleanest solution out there. The solution implied that Fazbear Entertainment went to the burned-down FNAF 6 pizzeria, found the spring-lock suit with Afton's dead body.
Yeah, I started realizing that more recently. Like, a little bit before the the Mimic stuff happened, I started realizing that that doesn't really make sense. Not only because of like the logistics behind just getting that circuit board, but it's also possible like the like another problem with that is like how did they actually get under there, right? Because they're all blocked off. So I don't really know how they would have like I don't know how they would have gotten the circuit boards from Afton in that case.
Board to use. Somehow I'm not convinced that the workers would have been happy to continue their job when they pry open a suit and discover the remains of the company's founder inside. And yet, that was just the best that we had, because up to that point, that was largely the rules of the series. It was about the supernatural, not the sci-fi. It was possessions and ghosts, not rogue AI and technology on the fritz. Or at least, we didn't think the series was about that yet. We were wrong. In FNAF World, take a look at the world map for me. It's messy, right? This thing is just so odd. It's hacked together with
like
no
the brain
transition
thing
between the lands. It's complicated with all these twisting pathways that have no rhyme or reason to them. And then also, just on a basic level, why is it so zoomed out like this? Say what you will about Scott Cawthon's game programming, but he should know enough to make a better, more usable map than this thing, right? Well, that's because it's not a map. It's a diagram. It's a blueprint. A
of a brain
of the human brain. I know
yeah,
absolutely.
I remember he talked about that in his old FNAF World like GT lives, which and like that is actually like it kind of does look like a brain, so I understand that point. Yeah.
Insane, but just take a look at this map. And now take a look at this map. This map of the human brain. Notice all the parallels here. A long brainstem right here in the middle where Pinwheel Funhouse is. Deep Metal Mine and Black Tomb Yard. Two smaller rounded areas in the back matching the cerebellum and the occipital lobe. Two smaller rounded lobes in the back of the brain. Even the twisting nature of the game's various pathways act exactly like the brain. Our brain is full of wrinkles, the gyri or curves, and the sulci or grooves. It's built that way so we have as much surface area in there as possible, which allows for more neuronal connections to happen, thereby making us smarter. And that's exactly what we're seeing here in this FNAF world map.
I don't know where he's gonna go with this yet, but I do just want to say, I think that that brain connection is mostly to do with the bite victim, because the game is all about like the bite victim, like Happy's Day being set up for the bite victim. Whether or not he actually receives it in the end anyway is debatable, but it was originally meant to be for him. So it's all about like setting up Happy's Day for him and based on his memories. So I feel like that brain thing, since he was bitten in the head and his brain was kind of crushed, then I think that's what the brain is trying to represent.
That's also why it stays zoomed out the entire time, so we can see the silhouette. We can understand what Scott was actually going for. That white blob in front, it's either an eyeball or the frontal lobe. This, I suspect, was Afton's earliest experimentation with AI, with turning a robot brain into something truly intelligent, to try and put things back together like he promised his dying son. Back then, we weren't looking for clues to humanoid robots, but now,
I don't think that William said that,
but looking forward, we see those hints everywhere. Fast forward to sister location, there it is again. Afton literally has human heads sitting there on the desk, blinking, hidden in plain sight right in the lobby. He was trying to create people. He was experimenting with creating artificial intelligence. Either he or Henry, maybe even both of them, created an AI program to speed up the programming process, to learn the way that a human learns, to copy and bring new life to their dead children. By observing Afton, by copying him, the program was basically able to act as a second brain. Inputting bad data got them bad results, and we wound up with Glitch Trap. There's also another related possibility here. In the book,
I would go into the Tales from the Pizzaplex being in the games thing, but like I've gone over that so many times, and a lot of people like get mad at me for it because like, oh my god, there's such a problem with that. There really isn't, but especially now that Ruin is out, like in Ruin, the Mimic shows up, so it's not really like that. Like, I feel like if the Mimic itself is literally under the Pizzaplex, just like it is in the epilogues, it doesn't really get more clear than that, honestly.
Books, the genius inventor Edwin, parallel to the game timeline's Henry,
not
creates
really
the Mimic program to entertain a small child, giving it a rudimentary body so it can play and learn from the small boy. Eventually, his child dies, and Edwin abandons everything in
Can we talk about the fact that that actually is kind of accurate to what the Mimic looks like in Security Breach? Like how it's like, there's like a dangling piece of wires there, and like in Security Breach, the Mimic actually has the like hair like that.
It's grief, including this Mimic program. Fazbear Entertainment rolls in to collect what was their property, and in doing so, collects the Mimic, but not before it kills a number of their employees. In true Fazbear fashion, that doesn't really stop them. Instead, they collect the parts, repurpose them, including the circuit boards, in order to create, quote, new scenarios for VR, AR, and arcade games, which is exactly what we see happening throughout FNAF VR and AR. Old circuit boards of the original games made by a rogue indie developer getting scanned into the system, child murder and all. And from that data, the system spits out new scenarios for VR.
I blanked out for a second.
Games, which is exactly what we see happening throughout FNAF VR and AR. Old circuit boards of the original games made by a rogue indie developer getting scanned into the system, child murder and all. And
that part I'm not sure about. Like the game thing, not really.
Data, again,
like obviously it creates games, but I don't think that like all of them are based on just the games. Obviously, like, the first 3 are, but, like, the rest not really.
Bad results. The Mimic basically got itself a crash course in Afton. The AI is watching and learning how it should behave based on his actions, leading to it manifesting as a man in a rabbit suit. Either way, whether the Mimic program was built by Henry or William, an AI trained itself up to be Afton
It's neither.
incarnate.
Yeah, the answer is neither.
Which means it's now time to talk about the elephant in the room, or I suppose the elephant down in the basement, Crispy Boy Burntrap. Burntrap showing up during one of the endings of Security Breach was one of the weirdest and most frustrating things to ever happen in this franchise. We all collectively
What am I looking at? I think that's a fan game.
I always come back thinking, yeah, but did you really have to? It just raised more questions than it answered, like, how are you still alive? Was Henry wrong about Remnant being destroyed at high temperatures?
Yes.
Did Afton manage to escape the fire? It was nearly impossible.
But that's
to
not
say.
why.
I had a few ideas that involved Vanessa repurposing Glamrock Bonnie's endoskeleton, but now I think we actually know the truth. And again, that truth is rooted in this AI concept. Probably the best and scariest
it's not
part of
Afton,
Security
probably?
Breach was the utility tunnels, a bunch of narrow passageways full of endoskeletons that only attach.
Those weren't the utility tunnels,
throughout
but
this
sure.
area, there's also
I know
a
what
lot
you're
of
talking about,
posters
though.
on the wall. Weird posters. all
Utility
meant to
tunnels
teach
are a
the
completely
Glamrock
different area of the game.
endoskeletons how to behave, how to correctly
Yeah.
hold a child's hand, how to play nicely with other kids, how to not scare a girl in a bed that has a bedspread and lamp of the FNAF 4 house. Hold on, that's not just any bed either, it's a hospital bed. Oh, that feels like it has huge implications for the lore of FNAF 4. Anyway, that is not my focus right now. The point is, the endoskeletons down there in the basement, they're being trained up. They're being taught. They're being educated one by
Lifting
one.
weights
Data is being
graduating.
ingested by their systems. My suspicion is that whoever's doing the training down there, they're trying to find the right mix of data, the right combination of inputs to get the desired output. But what would that desired output be? Afton. You see, these robots have clearly been tampered with. If you keep looking, you see one poster where the robot is being taught not to knock over the cake. But then the X has been crossed off and replaced with a purple check mark. Yes, we do want that bad behavior. When you see a hurt child, don't help them. But as one last reveal for this section of the game, in the big final room, we see an endoskeleton wearing purple bunny ears and another purple rabbit behind him. That right there is Vanny, messing around with the new Mimic line of Glamrock endoskeletons. It literally
I feel like it's more
reveals
so
the
supposed to
plan
be
turn one of
actually
them
glitch
into
trap,
the
but-
new Afton. She's finding the inputs that are required to create an army of evil Afton bots. She's looking for the data that produces her bad results. And that, ultimately, is what Burntrap is. The body of Afton with the mind of a Mimic. The epilogues of the new book series take place in the FNAF 6 location under the Pizzaplex, as it's being built. A new shipment of animatronics arrive, but one of these is unlike the others, looking burnt and mangled. Since they can't put this burned one up on stage with all the other new animatronics, one of the workers decides to program it to tear the heads and arms off of the junk endoskeletons that are just lying around. This obviously goes horrifically wrong, though, when the little robo decides to take his programming a bit too seriously. He starts ripping the heads and arms off of anything that looks humanoid, including construction workers and later a group of teens who sneak their way in the facility. We learn, alongside the teens, that this thing is also running a version of the Mimic program, and that
Well, it
likes to
is
wear
the Mimic,
costumes.
so-
It's also physically able to contort itself into any animatronic costume or shell that it needs to, expanding and contracting to fit any space or shape that it needs, even if that space is a human body. Quote, in a nanosecond, one of the Mimic's spidery legs reached out and peeled open the back of the blue dog costume. The instant the costume was breached, the Mimic wormed its way past the edges of the matted blue fur. Shockingly,
Yeah.
the Mimic shoved itself inside the costume with Kelly. Lucia heard a sickening crunch. So, hold on a minute. A Mimic in the ruins of the FNAF 6 pizzeria that likes wearing old costumes, even if there's already a human body inside? That right there, that is Burntrap. That's why we see what are essentially new Glamrock animatronic parts entwined with the old fleshy parts of Afton. It's not that Vanessa rebuilt the body and just decided that they'd make for good decoration. The Mimic is literally contorting itself to fit in with what remains of Afton inside of his existing suit. So, feed an AI program a bunch of data about a serial killer and
You know, the funny thing is, I would have found this so convincing if it came out yesterday. Besides, like, the parallel stuff, but, like, he actually, like, he was spot on with what most people believed at this point. And then Ruin came out and made it so confusing, dude. I feel like it's just really strange that the Mimic is on its own, but Burntrap just isn't there, right? It's really strange. Like, is the Mimic Burntrap? It's really debatable now, because, like, he didn't have the corpse, he didn't have the bunny costume, he was just the endoskeleton. He did seem to have hair and, like, apparently, like, skin on his face. That could have been from Kelly, but like, it wasn't from Afton, right? Because that was because Burntrap seems to be completely separate, which is really weird. I don't know how it works yet. I'm gonna do my theory on it, and then I'll discuss it. But I just don't know yet how it's gonna work. But that's just me. So let's continue watching.
Boom, you get yourself a serial killer. But feed an AI too much data, or data that conflicts, things start to get messy in a hurry. Enter Tiger Rock. In the books, AI is represented by two
Tiger
main
Rock, yay.
creatures. One is obviously the mimic that's roaming around in the basement like we just talked about. But the other is another version of the mimic program, Tiger Rock, an AI that's in charge of the Pizzaplex.
Yeah.
A tiger that, very specifically, has mismatched blue and green eyes. A very literal way of showcasing the two clashing forces that are operating inside of it. But what exactly are those conflicting forces? The book never makes it clear. In our last theory, I spoke a lot about how Edwin and his son David are stand-ins for characters from the game timeline. One of the creators of Fazbear...
They're characters in the game timeline, actually.
In the book, the mimic was built to copy David, and so presumably in the game, if the mimic's there, it would also be designed to potentially copy Charlie, who was sadly killed by William and goes on to possess the puppet. And wouldn't you know it, just like the David AI taking control of the Pizzaplex in the book, that's why we're seeing puppet imagery weirdly spaced throughout the game, in puppet-colored wires, weirdly placed plushies, painted staff bots. It's an AI that's taken over the operation of the Pizzaplex, infusing itself into the very wires of the building.
I think it's more so that the puppet was, like, the actual spirit was in the Pizzaplex. And I think the two conflicting forces in in Tiger Rock were more so, like, Edwin and David, rather than Charlie and, like, Henry or William or whatever he's gonna say. Because, like, the mimic mimics multiple things at once. And Afton, or Burntrap or whatever, like, the mimic in the basement isn't mimicking Afton. The glitch trap virus in the Help Wanted game is. There's, like, more than one mimic in more than one place, and they're mimicking different things. But the one in the Pizzaplex is absolutely mimicking Edwin and David. Probably nothing else, at least for now. But like, if there's two conflicting forces, it's more likely just them two. And because of, like, the tales from the Pizzaplex being in the games and stuff, I think it's more likely that it's just that. It's just Edwin and David rather than Henry or William and Charlie.
That's why both the books and the game have conversations written in weird, mysterious, shape-based lettering. It shows us that the mimic program, Edwin's son, the entity controlling the Pizzaplex, the puppet, Charlie, and Henry are all connected. But while I am absolutely convinced that Charlie exists in the wires of the Pizzaplex, one thing that I haven't been able to answer yet is
well, I am, but not through
evil. We're not seeing plushies of the marionette. We're
not
seeing
through the
plushies
mimic, though,
of the nightmare puppet all over the Pizzaplex. The scary, evil version of the character.
Yeah.
Why, though? This character is not evil. If anything, this character is pure good. Is it because suddenly the puppet's vindictive? It's mad about being killed? Maybe it's angry that it's been summoned again to have to protect another generation of kids. No, I don't think so. In my last theory, I suspected that it had to do with Afton being mixed in with the puppet program. So you have these two competing codes, these two competing forces having to share one space, one body, for lack of a better word. And I think that I was really close on that one, but still not quite right. Think about it. Tiger Rock is very clearly meant to have a green eye and a blue eye. Green and blue. Charlie and Elizabeth, the puppet and baby. The protection of the puppet mixed with the violence and anger.
I'm sorry, but Elizabeth has nothing to do with blue. If anything, she'd be green. So why? Why would she be blue? That doesn't make sense.
Of Elizabeth. Throughout the books, Tiger Rock is depicted as having a duality about him. He's good and loving and fun, but then suddenly he turns sinister and threatening. There's this moment in one of his stories where he literally helps a kid like, quote, a puppet on a string. Doesn't get much more explicit than that. And yet later that same story, he just rolls up and rips the kid's arms clean off. No joke, that is how the story ends. It is
how the story ends, yeah.
Do I have a lot of evidence to suggest that Elizabeth might be mixed in there? Yeah, I'd say I have like a medium amount. Outside of Baby's iconic blue eyes, we also have ourselves years of...
Yeah, but Elizabeth has green.
Elizabeth and Charlie are often revealed to share the same body, most explicitly with the Fourth Closet novel. We also have this weird moment in the main Tiger Rock story where he takes the form of a white clock face. This moment comes out of nowhere and is
he's gonna mention the clock in Sister Location,
where
I think.
have we seen that sort of thing before? Sister Location and the white baby-faced clock. Let's just call it a theorist hunch.
That is a fair
that is why both the puppet
comparison.
and baby are deactivated when we see their masks in the blob. Their actual AI code, their spirit spirits, whatever you want to call them, they're off elsewhere. They're in a separate AI entity, the wires of the building. But speaking of the blob, the AI theory also solves that one too. So Daddy AI is down in the basement, and the AI trained on the two warring daughters is fighting for control up in the Pizzaplex itself. What about the blob then? Well, the blob is just everything else. It's the mixed data. It's the AI when you feed it too much information. When you open the entirety of the internet to ChatGPT, a confusing mess of wires and information and a lot of angry people. As Glamrock Freddy says,
"My friends are here."
take a look at this description for the mimic from one of the book's epilogues. Quote, creeping out the back of the overalls-clad mushroom was an abomination of twisted and contorted metal. A mass of metal joints with wires, with one of its eyes on one leg and the other on its back. One of the legs extended from where its mouth should have been. Unlike the mimic's footfalls when it was upright, this configuration of the mimic's parts made a tisk tisk sound. A sloppy ticking that was at the same time squelching wet and dryly brittle. End quote. There is only one creature that's still around in the series that matches that description. The blob. That's right. I'm telling you that I think the...
Okay. The thing is, it doesn't really match, because the blob, like, that contorted mass of metal that was, that was the mimic. So it was just contorted in like a different way. Like, didn't we mention, he mentioned earlier that the mimic could contort contort its body. So that's literally just what it was doing. And also, if anything, I feel like that's more of a comparison to Princess Quest, which was pointed out to me by Krakoa, that Princess Quest has those like spider glitch trap enemies, the ones that like shoot balls at you. Yeah, those. You know what I'm talking about, right? Those ones, they're like a spider. I feel like that's more like what the mimic, what that's like trying to hint at, kind of, if anything. But the blob doesn't even match that either, because it's still, just because like it's moving around like in a different sound and has those different sounds and stuff mixed in it, it's still walking. And this is literally just a freaking... This is literally just a tentacle monster.
Blob. This confusing, weirdly designed mess that we found in the basement.
And going back to the Elizabeth thing, I just want to say that Elizabeth has green eyes, and while Baby does have blue eyes, they change to green after Elizabeth possesses it. So why would she be the blue? If anything, they'd both be green. So that doesn't really make sense to me.
The security breach is actually one final version of the mimic. Just listen to the sounds that it makes.
I don't think so.
Its appearance and the sounds that it make match how it's described in the book almost word for word. A twisted body
how the mimic is described in the books. The mimic endoskeleton, which you've concluded is Burntrap. So that doesn't make sense.
Absolutely him. There's even
No, it's
some
not.
in-game evidence to suggest that this is more than just speculation.
I don't think that really
Fast
makes
Watch
sense.
tells us that a huge amount of power goes down to the basement. We all thought that it was meant to keep Burntrap's body alive. But what if instead it's to keep the blob alive? In the books, whenever the mimic appears, the lights tend to flicker and go out as it draws power from anything around it. That also means the ending then, where the blob scoops up Afton, it's just him ingesting more data. The Afton data. It's all the data coming together, getting mixed up, getting more complicated inside that Freddy spaghetti. It's a mimic sweep. And, as I discussed in a previous theory, it's also why...
Okay. I completely forgive the theory that I don't agree with in the slightest, because he said mimic sweep. So, no, but the thing is with that, though, that they really don't match at all. Like, they're completely different. The mimic is really tiny in that scene. Like, it's literally like, say, like, it's like the size of my face cam, like how you see it on me. It's like about that size, kind of. So it's just contorted. That's all it is, and it's not a blob of wires, and it's not huge. the blob is huge, and it's not an endoskeleton that's contorted. It's a blob of wires. That's why it's called the blob. And that's why it has the tentacles. The tentacles are the wires. So I don't understand how he's really reaching this conclusion. You know what I mean? I kind of, like, I get the connection he's trying to make. It's just not a strong one, so...
I suspect that Gregory is not who he says he is in the Ruin trailer. It's the mimic still. An
yes.
AI not
Okay.
trained by
Okay. He got it right. He got that right. he got that right.
Behavior throughout security breach. Hearing Gregory's voice talking to Freddy. Bit by bit, this AI is absorbing everything around it, learning from it, assimilating it, and we'll see how that ultimately plays out in Ruin. Or, you know, maybe I'm completely wrong. So
He is.
Theory, by the way, what do you guys
He's
think
mostly
now?
wrong,
The
yeah.
game is out today. Literally today as this one's uploaded. I'm sure you're all probably scrambling to get through it as quickly quickly as possible.
I already
to see whether
finished
I
it.
got anything right. Literally
He got one
anything
thing right.
I'm actually doing the exact same thing right now over on GT Live. Tom and I are probably playing through the game as we speak, so please keep an eye out on GT Live for all those uploads.
I'll absolutely. No, there's a few people that I will absolutely watch play Ruin. That's Daco, GT Live, and Dan TDM if he does it, which I'm assuming that he will. But I'd like... Okay, so this theory. He mostly got it completely wrong, but that's okay. I mean, it was a prediction. But I feel like uploading it the day that Ruin comes out is kind of like counterintuitive because like you'll either be proven right or proven wrong immediately, and I feel like because it's not out yet, it's more likely to be proven wrong with it because it's completely like there's always new stuff that we never had any idea about, that there was nothing was hinting at. So I feel like doing it like today, if you did it yesterday, then it would have been a little bit more convincing, but now it's just a little bit like out there. Yeah, exactly. It's not a bad prediction, but it's just he's definitely wrong, and like putting it out today after it already comes out, when people have already beaten it, it's like that's a little bit of like weird timing to do that. You know what I mean? But I do I'm doing this on my stream, but I'm gonna make this into a video and upload it later today probably. So I just want to say thanks for watching to those of you who are watching the stream. And I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my Ruin gameplay, of course. I should probably also record, like, I should also probably, like, have a clip, like, of me saying, oh yeah, this contains spoilers for Ruin, so, yeah. I'll do that right now, guys. Don't question me. I'm just gonna be, I'm gonna talk as if I recorded this before. I'm just gonna do that right now, okay? So, where is my, okay. Hey guys, this video was recorded on a live